don't bring that disagreement out into the public. Do not air dirty laundry. I'm telling you, for 2 days, we were told things that either scared us or made us understand that we're to be a part of that agenda. So if the majority voted for something and you don't really like that something, you were supposed to present a united front and vote with them. And I kept asking questions this whole weekend. I said, now, if I disagree with something, I'm going to disagree with it before, and I'm going to disagree with it after. It doesn't change just because 4 of them voted against the one of me. So during my first month there, I voted no on something really important, which was to spend another $830,000 on the health care policy, to spend that out of district funds. Well, they were on the ballot, and they had removed all kinds of things from the children's services. So they had removed transporting children to school for the high school students. They were about to remove the two-mile radius busing. They had limited their textbook purchasing, saying that we could no longer order textbooks. They said our buildings were leaking, our windows were leaking, we had to replace them. Our building upkeep was horrific. They needed money, needed money, needed money. So 4 of them voted yes, let's pay that $830,000 more for the adults' health care services. I said, but I voted no. I always wrote a statement about why I voted the way I did, and I always said, my statement is available at kohlsforeducation.com, so that was my website. And of course, OSBA told us that you don't speak for the board, that you let the president of the board speak for the board, and that you pretty much can't speak for yourself. And I rejected many of those messages from that weekend. And I said, no, I'm going to speak to my constituents. They hired me. I'm talking to them. We were told as board members that if you get a question or a comment or somebody that wants to talk to you about some school matter, you're to flip that to the superintendent or treasurer. And I thought, well, that goes against why I think I was elected too. I think if they wrote me the question, I'm going to answer the question or get the answers for them. I am not going to flip that to my superintendent. So what it does is it trains school board members to have nothing to do with the public, to care about the people inside that district, because you're to be a cheerleader for your district. So guys, I left that weekend knowing I was not going to be a good school board member, according to the OSBA. And I voted no. I would say why. I voted no on the 5-year forecast because I disagreed with the way they were forecasting our expenses. Number 2, I didn't understand it. I said I shouldn't put my name on anything I don't completely understand, and especially spending $55 million per year. I don't want to do that. So I started saying no to a lot of things. It didn't earn me points with the other 4 that didn't care for a no voter in the first place. But doing that, after a couple months, those 4 board members started trusting me because I would simply give them the rest of the information that they were missing from the administrative staff. And I would say the OSBA has this code of ethics that every January they want school board members to approve. And I said no to that my second year because I said it's a way to keep board members muzzled. And I don't believe in muzzling an elected representative. So I'm going to say no to that. So there are a number of things I said no. I explained why. The other board members, and they would get mad at me sometimes because I wasn't that united front. We weren't a 5-0 board. We were a 4-1, 4-1, 4-1. And I said, look, I'm just voting my conscience, and I'm telling you why I voted the way I did. I want you to vote your conscience. Please do that. And I'm not going to badmouth you for voting your conscience, but please explain to the community why you voted the way you did. And I think we're all good. But within a couple months, guys, they were voting with me. We voted to stop tenure because we didn't agree with it. And we did it for 3 years. We gave nobody a continuing contract until I left. And then I think they just approved everybody because the conservatives were in the minority by that point, by the time I left. We voted to stop giving the administrators their huge bonuses every year. I said, now wait a minute. We could no longer afford to safely transport our students to school, so I'm confused why we have enough money all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but why we have enough money, $200,000 a year in bonus, called Pick Up on the Pickup, our administrators. So we voted to do away with that. There were a lot of things. We had 33 cell phones when I came on board, and I said, I don't believe that many people need a cell phone that the district provides. We took it down to like 10, and took our bill down to 1/3 of what it was before. We did a lot of that kind of stuff. Once I explained what was going on, the other board members started trusting me. So what I do now is I train school board members. I will go speak in any organization that invites me. I'll go wherever 3 people gather to tell you what's happening in public education. I saw it with my own eyes. Board members are rendered useless because of the bullying tactics that OSBA, we pay for them, Kimberly was right, we pay for them to train our school board members on how to be ineffective. I'm going to train them how to be effective. I'm going to tell them what their rights are, and what their responsibilities are, and how they are responsible to the public. And I kept saying during these board meetings that people inside this district have representation. I'm here because the people outside this district do not. And so I'm going to speak for the community. I'm going to keep doing that. And you can't tell me that I've lost my First Amendment rights to do so because I swore an oath. And in fact, I think I just reiterated my right to do so when I swore that oath. So there were a lot of things I was saying. I did it with a smile. I always tell Kimberly this. I say what I say with a smile and with respect to the other people who are listening. They may disagree, and I told them absolutely, because I don't agree with everything you say, and that's okay. But you're here to represent, I'm here to represent, I'm going to do it my way. Thanks for your opinion. Have a seat, because you're not going to derail me. Do I have a slide presentation? Excuse me? Back there? Hello? Not looking. I got a slide presentation. Can you put that up here, please? So what I do, when I go places, I present the international, national, and then the statewide information, and then I'll kind of zero in on the district and what that district in that area does. So that's kind of what that is. Next slide, please. I'll go pretty fast, guys, because I'm only going to spend a few minutes on some of these slides. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but it's the type of stuff that I send or I present. You have every right, just write to me, or you can write to Ronald and say, I want that PowerPoint. You can have every slide here, okay? So you can read it more later, more detail. How do we know it's failing? Do we know it's failing? Why is it failing? And how do we fix it? Next one. This was made short for Kimberly. All right, so Teachers Union is in control. The National School Board, or excuse me, the National Education Association and the American Federation of Teachers. And here is what they said. It's in this YouTube link here. So the president said, the Teachers Union does not exist because we care about children, nor do we care about a great public school for every child. We exist because people are willing to give us hundreds of millions of dollars per year to advance education employees, and boy, have they been a success. Next slide, please. Okay, so here's what's been happening, guys. Look at this. This is from the Cato Institute, I believe. Yeah, I think so. Anyway, so since 1950, that's the start point. The red line is the non-teaching staff increase in number of employees. The next line is the teaching staff increase number over the years, and it stops at 2010. But the increase in the number of teaching staff that has been added to public education. The next line is, I think it's teaching staff. Oh, I'm sorry. The middle one is total staff, teaching staff. But down at the bottom, the black line, that's student enrollment. So that's what's happened over the last 70 years in student enrollment. But look at how we've increased all the adults in the system. That's why we have OSBA. That's why we have the Superintendent's Association. That's why we have the Teachers Union. Because they have spent billions of dollars lobbying to get more people in the system. Their voting block then increases by that kind of number. How can we ever outvote them then? They have gotten legislation, laws passed to increase the adults in this system, while enrollment has not followed that at all. Next slide. Okay, so here it is again. Students, 96% increase, and this is from 1950. The other one was 70. Again, when you look at the slides, you'll see those numbers clearer than you go up here. But since 1950, 96% increase in students, 252% increase in teachers, and 702% increase in administrators. Yeah, we need more administrators now, don't we? Next slide, please. Okay, so this is Pisa, Program for International Student Assessment. Kimberly was alluding to it, in that they have dumbed down our children. There is no doubt that's been going on. Pisa, Program for International Student Assessment, is an international standardized test that they give to 65, and now these days it's 72 different education systems. I can't say countries, but it's education systems within, sometimes two within one country. But here's where the United States has been. So since 2000, we were 7th in reading, 18th in mathematics, and 14th in science. 2018, excuse me, let's look at 2015. In 2015, here's where we went. We went to 23rd in reading, 39th in math, and 24th in science. Now in 2018, it looks like we're improving. What do you think, guys? Do you think that's true? Next slide, please. So I just wanted to show you this. So when we're talking about how 2018 looks better, look at where the United States scored in relation to the average of the other countries. We're still average to a lot of these education systems or countries are still developing. How could we score the same? We spend more money than any other nation on education. Well, what we're actually doing is we're paying for our own demise because those forces are not in favor of freedom or our Constitution. So we're throwing money at our enemy. How dumb are we? Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is the Cato Institute again. I'm asking them to update some of this stuff because they don't have, this is a chart that's a little bit old, but nothing has changed. The trajectory should be exactly the same. So you look at this, the blue line is total cost per pupil. I told you we've been throwing money at a system that's broken on purpose, not fixing it. Down below are all the scores, reading, math, and science. What do you think? Has that money improved education at all? Absolutely not. Next slide, please. Okay, and this is the SAT. So the other one was taking younger children and measuring that, but this is taking 15-year-olds and looking at their SAT scores. Again, the green line is per pupil expenditures over time, and the purple and magenta lines are math and reading SAT scores over time. All that money has not improved education. Next slide, please. Okay, so why is it a problem? Next slide, please. Let me see if I've got it on a better, oh shoot, back up one, sorry. Okay, so over there on my table, I have the proficient. What do you think it means when I say proficient? What does that mean? That means they're getting it, they're coming along, they've got some basic knowledge. Well, would you call it proficient if your student scored, and here's proficient category, if your third grade in English got 57% of the questions correct, would you call that proficient? In Ohio, that's called proficient. They're failing these exams and they're called proficient. When I was a mom of 5 kids in the system, I would get these beautiful printouts with these big bar charts showing me how great my kid did. And my kids did okay. I'm not arguing that they did okay, but they would tell me that they were accelerated, advanced, or proficient. But they were big bars, so I didn't know what percentage score that would be. Now, as somebody who was in higher ed for a while, I at least understand that a 50% should be an F, right? Not proficient. So you keep going, and I've got a whole chart over there that shows you all the grade levels, all the assessments that are done. Now, 4th grade, they only have to answer 47% of the questions correctly to be called proficient. Your school district can fail most of these indicators. So 80% of the students in each school need to get proficient or fail the exam or better for your school district to get a point on the education indicators. Just a few years ago, Southwestern in Columbus failed half of those indicators and they were still called excellent. So even if they get a point, you don't have to even get very many points before you're called an A or B or C district. And if you're an A district, you'd think, well, we're doing fabulous things for kids. Did you know that they can fail the exam and you're doing fabulous things for kids? It is a hoax. And every school board member has the opportunity to present this to the rest of the board, which I did, and present a whole lot of other data to the rest of the board. And when the rest of the board learned the stuff that I learned, they were mad. And I said, why doesn't Springboro develop our own minimum competencies well above this? So in order to progress to grade 5, you have to have scores far better than this. Why don't we do that? Why don't we develop our own minimum competency to progress? It just makes sense, doesn't it? Why do we have to follow the state? The state legislators will tell us all, you're a local control. We're a local control state. Andy Brenner, like him a lot, but he tells me that all the time. I say, Andy, that's false. Stop saying it because it's not true. You know it's not true. If we don't follow what you tell us to do, we will somehow be sanctioned by getting a low grade on a report card. But what some school districts should do is just develop their own minimum competencies to progress to the next grade. And it's okay if we hold some students back. And tell the parents it's okay that we hold them back, because we're not going to graduate someone who doesn't know how to read. And we should take pride in that. But school board members aren't told any of this information. I found this on my own. Certainly none of this comes from OSBA. Okay, next slide please. Okay, so excellent. So I just want to show you what was happening for a long, long time. In 2002, there were only 85 districts that were excellent or excellent with distinction. By 2010 and 11, there were 352 districts that were excellent with distinction. Nothing changed. You know what changed? They keep lowering that cut score to get proficient. That's what's changed. Our students don't score any better. That's the truth. Next slide. Okay, next slide. What I wanted to talk about, next slide, what I want to keep talking about is, when I found out that there's actually a system that reports on how many of your students that graduate, that want to go to college and apply to a Ohio college or university, how many of them have to take remedial courses to catch up. In other words, and this is how I presented it to the rest of the board, I said, you realize that in Springboro is supposed to be the best of the best of the best, right? That 23% of our students who want to go to an Ohio institution do not meet the minimum competencies to do that. And they said, what? We're Springboro. You know, and I said, yes, in the state of Ohio, 41% of Ohio graduates do not meet the minimum competencies to get into college. What? So when I said that out loud, remember OSBA had told us you're not supposed to air dirty laundry in public. But I knew that unless I made it public, nobody would pay attention to it. So I said it at a board meeting out loud. And I had a member of the audience who was a teacher.